Peace, love, Goldn.Light. So the theme for this Write It Down series for this week has been about decision making, right? With the main journal prompt question asking, how do you feel about making decisions? So let's talk about it. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down. So every day we're making decisions from what we want to wear, what we want to eat, where we want to go, where we want to shop, where we want to stay, where we want to leave, what we want to accept. Decisions, right? I'm a very indecisive person. I'm going to admit that, right? But I've been working on it. I got two choices and I can't decide. Sometimes I'm getting both. But overall, I realized last year, not just last year, I would say maybe 2 years ago, when I was really focusing on my strengths and my weaknesses, I knew that being indecisive and decision making was not something that I felt like really confident about, right? And I was like, okay, I want to strengthen this. I want to work on this. So I made intentional time to find out what did I like about making decisions? Why did difficult decisions, give me some anxiety? What was I afraid of and things like that? So it was all these different things that I had to work through. So I started to be intentional about just making decisions and being confident in that. I would tell myself, I trust myself to make a decision. That was like my affirmation. And little by little, I started to get better. I was faced with different challenges within my life within the past 2 years. And some of those decisions was very hard. I had to weigh how I felt about things. I considered other people's feelings. I was looking at all these different, like weighing the pros and the cons, right? That kind of thing. And I was really struggling to just make the decision. But I learned that I was so focused on, especially when it came to like more complex decision making where is really going to impact your life. Like, should I accept this job? Should I quit this job? Should I end this relationship? So should I buy this house? Should I buy this car? I realized that the anxiety came by constantly focusing on the outcome. And because I'm somebody that can overthink and overanalyze, I'm creating like 50 different scenarios of an outcome, right? And a lot of times it's around fear and negativity, and it pulls you away from actually being strong and making this decision. So there was a lot of different things emotionally and mentally that I had to work through, facing certain things that I felt were blocking me, my perception or perspective with certain things. And I was like, this doesn't feel good. I want to be able to make a decision and be confident in the decisions that I'm making for myself. And I'm the type of person where I don't really ask for help as much. I'm getting better at that. But I knew that there's certain things within my life that someone cannot decide for me. And I can't rely or depend on somebody to make that decision for me. It's not up to them. It's up to me. When it came to really complex or difficult decisions, I had to trust myself, because I looked at it this way. Whatever the outcome is, I'd rather be confident or sure that I made it for myself and it wasn't something that I was just leaning on somebody else to do for me, right? When it came to difficult decisions, yes, I can counsel with people, I can ask for advice, but at the end of the day, I gotta decide, right? Nobody else is gonna be able to live my life. Nobody is gonna be able to take over my responsibilities in a sense, right? So I'm accountable for my actions, I'm accountable for my life, and I'm accountable for my decisions. Now, wise counsel does help. It gives you perspective, it gives you other things to think about, but at the end of the day, you have to make a decision for yourself. So like I said, I will go through these affirmations. I trust myself to make good decisions. And this was after working through certain things to find out why I struggle with making decisions. What fears did I have? Why did I feel so haunted by making mistakes, right? What did I feel that these mistakes define me? And y'all know in my other videos, I've talked about being a perfectionist. I've talked about people pleasing. I talked about all these other things that I have been working through myself. So this affected decision making, right? If I'm people pleasing, that means that I'm constantly deciding and choosing to please everybody else, right? So I'm not even included in that equation. So like I said, there were so many different things that I had to work through that was affecting making decisions. Now, it could be simple things. I'm always like, don't ask me what's my favorite anything, because I feel like I can't ever just choose one thing. Like, I change often, and I feel like if you're gonna hold me to that one answer, and I had to learn to get out of that. Like, if I say my favorite color is yellow today, and that's what you remember, but you ask me in 3 months and now say change to orange, I can change my mind. It's okay. But I felt like I didn't want people to hold me to one thing, so I didn't want to make choices or decide on certain things. So it was, and I know that sounds crazy, but these were things that I actually had to work through with myself, you know? So what helped is actually fucking up, making decisions, deciding, choosing, seeing how things unfold, sometimes not deciding, and, you know, all these different things that helped shaped an experience for me, right? That gave me more confidence, right? At the end of the day, it's like, Toya, it's okay. That was the whole point. Like, I guess the decision making was just like, am I going to still be okay? How is this going to work out? So I had to put more faith and trust in the things that I do. So now when it comes to decision making, yes, I'm a think. Sometimes I think and I feel, and I'm using, you know, logic. I'm using my emotions, and then I decide, and then I let go of what that outcome is. I go with the flow to some degree, right? So I had to redefine the idea of, or I had to change my perspective about like making mistakes from things that I decide, right? And there's some things that you just know not to do, like they don't feel right to your spirit, and that's me listening to my instinct, listening to the spirit and how I should move and when I should do things and who I should speak to and who I should invite into my space and things like that, and trusting my intuition, right? And listening to that, because I can go back and look at certain things when I wasn't listening, what the outcome is. So I just try to make the best decision and I let it go. So if I'm faced with this option, I will weigh out what's good about it, what's bad about potentially things that may happen, and then I decide, right? I'm gonna play this clip from this video. It's from an old Write It Down response, and it was where I was talking about childhood patterns, and I was really going through the root of being a perfectionist, right? So listen to this part, because it relates back to how I still feel right now. So for moments of feeling embarrassed, I would fully embrace it, and I would look at it more so in a way of, what can you teach me? You know, instead of thinking this is making me less. The same goes for making mistakes. What can this mistake teach me about myself, about life, about situations, instead of thinking, ooh, this mistake is making me feel less of a person. You know what I'm saying? This mistake is making me feel that I'm not good enough. I got to change my perspective and my mindset about these type of things. I don't have to get it right the first time. That's what I'm recognizing. I don't have to get it right the first time. I'm going to flow and be free with love and wisdom, and allow life and experience to teach. All lessons aren't easy, so I don't expect them to be. I'm not going to look to control or overthink situations to the point that it will choke me from doing or taking action. I'm going to breathe, I'm going to think, I'm going to feel, I'm going to decide something, and I'm going to do something. Then I'm going to keep it moving. So sometimes I feel like I be rambling in these videos, and I'm trying to get everything out, and I'm trying to look at my notes and what I wrote and go back, you know, just how I feel in the present moment of recording. But in a nutshell, when it comes to making decisions, I don't hate them as much, right? I've been able to understand more about myself. I've been able to gain more confidence in my decision making and let go of certain fears that is surrounded around decision making. But there's certain things that I released like a weight off of me when it came to certain things, and just being able to decide for myself and feel good about it. I use meditation, I'm in prayer, I journal, certain words that I wrote down on my board that I wanted to focus on, and I have reminders, and just being in tune with myself and being aware and feeling good about what I'm doing. And even times that I don't feel good about what I'm doing, that's still something that I can learn from. So it's letting go of the expectation, finding more freedom in making decisions. And that doesn't mean I'm careless, right? Even though sometimes I'm just like, fuck it. Just, it is what it is. I just throw myself in something. And sometimes that's how I learn. It's like, you don't know how to swim, push you in the water. You know what I'm saying? And other times it's really calculated, because that's just another part of myself that I naturally do. I want to map everything out. But I learned a lot, and I don't feel as haunted and as bad about making decisions. And I feel better about making decisions, but it doesn't mean I've improved. Let's put it that way. I've improved about making decisions. I'm less indecisive, but I'm still indecisive, right? And that's okay. Sometimes I'm still fearful of making mistakes, but you know, I've learned to move with confidence, move with power, move with courage, to still say fuck it and do some of the things, decide some of the things for myself, choose myself, and different things like that. So another thing that I want to say too, when I think about decision making, like I said, I use prayer and meditation to get insight, gain wisdom, and to lean on the Spirit to help guide me. And as beautiful as that sounds realistically, sometimes I have to think, like, what does that mean, right? What does that look like for me? You can hear other people say it, you can hear me say it, but what does that mean? Like, if I'm in prayer and I'm asking a question, and how do I know that I'm able to recognize the answer? How do I confirm that is the answer? Like, you know what I'm saying? You still have to be able to understand that. Like, I feel like there was a time where it's just like, well, just pray about it. God will help you. Right? And that sounded beautiful and it sounded great. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I had to understand, like, what does that mean for me? Like, because even if I pray about it and I think I found an answer, how do I know that's the answer, right? If I go to someone, do they have to confirm that's the answer for me? How can I trust to know that I can listen, hear the Spirit, see the Spirit, understand that? So those are some things that I had to strengthen, right? I had to strengthen my intuition. And that came from being more aware of myself, being more in tune with myself, spending time with myself, being still, you know what I'm saying? And then also sometimes making mistakes. And sometimes you mess up about the same thing over and over again, right? And you have to really sit down and figure out where does this change need to take place, right? So I know it sounds just easy to say, like, oh, you know, just pray about it, you'll get your answer. But there would be times I'm praying about something, I'm meditating about something, and I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. I still don't know what's right, because there was also a blockage on what I was afraid of, right? But then I felt like, well, if I'm not being afraid, just let go. So then I just do whatever, right? So I really had to understand for myself, like, how can I strengthen my understanding? How can I strengthen my intuition? How can I trust myself to make good decisions, right? So it's something I'm still working through to this day, and I've gotten better at it. What has really helped is being honest with myself, in areas that I'm unsure, being patient. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I can be very impatient. Like, I feel a way about something and I'm going to decide right away. It's just like, whatever. And you know, sometimes shit happens from that and you realize that's not the way to go. But when I'm patient with something and I'm not gonna lie, decision making does affect, but the way I feel about things plays a huge part in how I'm deciding. But because I'm also analytical, there's logic behind that as well. So like, when things don't feel right and sometimes I can't explain it, I do decide off of that. And things show itself, right? Things come to the light. There's other times where I might feel a way and I have to ask myself, am I feeling like this because of this situation? Like, there's been times I'm at my job and I'm irritated. I'm like, yo, I'm about to quit. You know what I'm saying? And I would feel like so spontaneous to like, fuck this shit, I'm quitting the next day. And then I'll have to think like, okay, you just having a bad day. Like, you don't need to quit tomorrow. But then I'm like, I'm quitting soon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm unhappy here and I know I'm going to quit, but let me be patient on how this is going to work out, right? So it's been a mixture of both, but it really comes down to like the awareness of myself, because knowing when I'm just doing something, because I can be impulsive. I know I can. I know I could just be like, fuck it, we just gonna take that drive. You know what I'm saying? Fuck it, we just gonna go here. And it works out great. And that helps me. And then other times it's like, for bigger decisions, like even right now, like I'm thinking about getting a new car, right? And I'm weighing about I'm weighing the options, and not just jumping the gun, right? I don't want to just get in anything and it don't work out, but moving to a new spot, finding the right apartment and stuff like that. Is this going to be right? Is certain things you want to look at, but you learn to trust yourself. You learn to trust your intuition. You learn to recognize the spirit and be able to read certain things the more you do it, right? So instead of being so afraid to make decisions, just be like, I'm not going to decide anything for my life. You guys decided for me, and I'm just going to follow every little thing. Like, no, I can't live my life like that. So I had to step up. I had to be bold. I had to be courageous, right? I had to say, like, okay, I'm going to make this decision. And sometimes I make decisions that feel good, and then I'm like, damn, that wasn't right. And I start overthinking that. But it's okay to feel your emotions, right? Because I feel my emotions, but it's not going to stop me from deciding things. And like I said before, I had to work through some of my struggles. I had to work through some of my insecurities. I had to work through some of my fears, because I had to get that blockage out the way, so that when I was making certain decisions, I was making it from a sound mind. You know what I'm saying? I was making it from my heart. I was making it from logic. I was making it from things that fucking made sense, right? And it wasn't just based on what people were telling me and what I seen online and all that type of stuff. It was for me. So that part is key. Yeah, that's part of what I was writing about. That's part of what I was meditating about. And that's what I got for you. So how do you feel about making decisions? And maybe share with me some skills that you tap into that help you with making decisions. Share that in a comment. What else do I want to say? Not next week, but this Sunday, I will be sharing a new journal prompt. Every Sunday, I share a new journal prompt throughout the week. We have a new focus. This coming week is going to be about being authentic, right? Authenticity. So we'll talk about that and share my response as well next week. So until then, my sugar babies, peace and love. Peace and love. Okay, bye. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down.